Sally.
That's a lot of barking.
Yeah, well, they hear something outside. I have 3 of them. I know. You're so excited. Oh, hush. I have 3 generations of crazy weakness. That's Grandma you're hearing barking. Grammy Bam.
Great. That's great.
Yeah, she's the matriarch. Bam! Hey, thank you.
You were at a dog show?
Pardon me?
You were at a dog show last week?
No, we are shut down here in California. And
yeah.
It's a good thing.
I think even tougher for Diane in Arizona.
And she just, it looks like she just signed up. What? Yeah, here's my 15-month-old boy. He's the one that I was showing, and he's got several points toward his championship. But then, of course, we shut down after Beverly Hills.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to July. Can you believe it's July? I woke up this morning and I said, wow, the MAAP program has now been going on since March 31st. And I can tell you, I don't know how all of you feel, but I'm sort of wondering where March, April, May, and June went.
Yeah, but notice I'm sitting here in Southern California in a hoodie. It is, if you look at the window behind me, it's very cloudy, overcast. It's 63 degrees according to my phone.
Oh, I wish.
And yeah, it's cold.
Yeah, we're pretty hot up here too, Diane. So welcome everyone. Deborah Hamilton, the MAAP program. We're here again in the community talking about surviving this COVID and making plans for our pets. I want to welcome Barbara. So glad to see you here. And we're going to talk again about how we're doing because it's great to have this camaraderie for half an hour every week to check in and see how everyone's doing and also to spread the word that people should come. I just spoke with a big dachshund group in Texas, and I'm going to speak to them about the MAAP plan because they really don't have any sort of plan. Some of us are breed oriented, and having a plan for your dogs, because we always have more than one. They're like Lay's potato chips. You always have more than one. And who do you want to get them? So here we sit. How is everybody doing? Let me start with you, Sally. How's everything going up in Connecticut?
Everything's going great. And I actually was thinking about the MAAP plan this week. So I'll talk to you about that later. And it's about what my dog eats and doesn't eat. And I thought I have to add that to the MAAP plan with the...
Well, yep, because what does the A stand for? Address the needs of your pet. So M, make a plan. A, address the needs of your pet. A, appoint caregivers. And P, publish. So part of that is, you know, we all know that some of our dogs don't like thunderstorms. The fireworks are coming. Holy Toledo. What are we going to do? Play a lot of music, shut the windows. Although some of our gun dogs don't have a problem. But what about food? You're absolutely right, Sally. And I did hear from a little birdie that there was an owl that you were alerted to by someone who will remain nameless so that you didn't get nailed by the owl in the tree falling.
Yes, that's true. That's true. It's good to have a guardian.
That's right. That's right. So her Irish setter decided to take a detour on the walk and she didn't understand why. And later that night, Connie and Diane, Barbara left. Oh, shoot. I hope she didn't get kicked off. That there was a tree that fell on the road. And so Athena, being the perfect dog that she is, I only breed perfect dogs, I want to let you know, alerted her by veering off on the fork, right, Sally? I think I got that right from the note you said.
Yeah, it was huge, a gigantic maple, and all the dog walkers go to the park at the same time and meet. And Athena wouldn't go that way that particular evening. She turned around, walked another way. All the dog walkers who went had to run. They actually heard the tree crack and it came down, and the dogs pulled right out of their hands, pulled the leashes out of their hands and went running. And then people followed afterward. But we were in a different area. Athena somehow knew ahead of time not to go there.
Yeah. What a smart girl.
Yeah, she is smart.
Yep.
That would be an Irish setter.
I know, that would be an Irish setter. We are a little, bias. Sorry, Connie, but we still love
But
Irish.
I have Irish dogs. It's okay.
That's
It's okay.
That's right. You have to be Irish. Well, you don't have to be Irish to be here.
We're close
But
enough.
I am Irish.
That's right. So it's cold in California, Connie, and
Right.
so, are you still continuing to do social distance, agility, rally, obedience?
Yes, we aren't doing obedience yet because we train in city and county parks, and all the public parks are closed down for any kind of group activities. But we are having informal rally practices, just, a group of friends getting together, about 5 of us, and social distancing, masking. It is in a city park in Torrance, so. And we've checked it out with the park rangers, and they're totally cool with it.
Because you're under 10 people, right? You make sure it's under 10.
We're only about 5 or 6, and we only go on the course one at a time. So, he checked it out with all of us, and watched us, and, gave us his Dominus Vobiscum, and, that was it. And so at any rate, I got a note from my handling instructor for my crazy 15-month-old boy, Casey, that in an Orange County city park, they are going to be starting up handling classes next Wednesday night again, but masks, social distancing, no more than 10 people. So we're going to go back to that.
It's a delicate balance. So you have flare-ups in California.
Right.
Diane, you're having some flare-ups in Arizona as well. You have flare-ups in Florida. Both my sons are in a flare-up. So one's in Florida and the other's in California. So I can't go see them, and I can't have them come to see me because the governor of New York has raised his hand and said, and the governor of Connecticut and most of the Northeast have said, Boston said you have to be from the Northeast. You can't be from anywhere else. And so has really from New Jersey up said, nobody else. We're building a wall. There you go. We're building a wall.
Oh, we need a wall.
So Diane, how's your week going?
Oh, my week this has not been a positive week, unfortunately, but that's why I love this group. This group is wonderful.
And that's why we're here, because everybody has.
It's just been a very complex week. We are probably the new York. If not, we may even be Italy. At this point, we have COVID that is rampant. It is crazy. The numbers are increasing every day. We have a governor that he's a nice man. That's the problem. He's a nice man. He won't put his foot down. He never put his foot down. That's why we are where we are. And most distressing to me, our hospitals are the only state in the nation that have approved crisis care. And as a medical person, ethically, this bothers me terribly. I have been up the greater portion of the past 2 nights since the conference Monday, because I don't know, I'm not going to discuss religion or politics with you people, but I do have a real concern with people playing God. And that's what this crisis care is. And I don't know how you can evaluate somebody's quality of life. And so I'm very upset about all this. And in the middle of all this, you'll enjoy this, Deb. When my mother passed away, my brother and I inherited her house. And I've maintained it with seasonal renters for 9 years now, 11 years now, 9 years now. Anyway, we finally decided to sell it. We actually got a buyer in the middle of COVID-19.
Wow.
However, because I didn't want any personal liability for people in there getting hurt or whatever, we formed an LLC to own it. Well, selling it as an LLC in Arizona is a very complex process. And so I've been trying to get through all of the paperwork. I have to get all the stuff out of the house and fix everything the home inspection said. And my brother, who is lovely and willing to help me, can't come here because he lives in Pennsylvania.
So the things that get in the way are just, the tentacles of this, as you said, Diane, the tentacles of this are so incredibly broad.
Yes, and on top of that, flame spider bite got worse, and now we thought something was in it. And I was at rally from 7 to 8, agility from 8 to 9, and at the vets until 11:30 last night. So it was like, I really seriously debated whether to get up this morning, but I was like, you guys are so fun that I had to do this because it just makes me feel better.
It's the bright spot. Well, you know, I have to tell you that I had a hard time getting up this morning too, because as I told you at the beginning of the call, that it said July 1st. And I'm really having a hard time comprehending that it's July 1st already. I don't know if any of you.
Yeah.
But I'm really having a hard time because it seems as if we stopped March 12th. I mean, when my puppies were born, it seems like that was the last normal event in my life. And then everything else is COVID.
Yes, and we stopped March 17th because that was actually my birthday. And we went out to dinner, and my brother said to me, how can you be out to dinner? All the restaurants are closed. I'm like, no, they're not. And that night, the thing came out that they were all closing at midnight that night.
Yeah. I mean, we have been having so many discussions here in New York. In fact, one of my really dear friends that you, Diane, might know, and I think, Sally, you might know, Carolyn McAteer, has all of her doctors up here in New York, and she was coming up. You know, these are things you don't think about. When I say tentacles, the tentacles are for personal and for your dogs, right? So she was coming up to have some, you know, doctor check-ins because she still uses the doctors in New York. And I went to the doctors on Monday. And one of the questions they asked me was, have you been out of the state of New York? Mm-hmm. And I have never been asked that when I go to the doctors. So this morning I called Carolyn and I said, by the way, you're coming up for all your doctor's appointments. I need to tell you that they just asked me where I said, if you need to come up 2 weeks early to quarantine at the house. So when you say in the last 2 weeks, have you been out of New York? You can say no. I said, come up. But it really took me for a minute because she's coming from North Carolina, another hotbed. And so my husband is a reformed diabetic because he had the bariatric surgery. So his diabetes is minuscule now, just not even aware, but he's one of those. And he has A positive blood, which they say is, you know, the more risky to have if you get COVID. And he's sitting there and he's thinking, holy Toledo. Now who, if your friend is coming up from somewhere, would say, oh, by the way, you can't, you know, I can't let you in. I mean, never. This is such incredible times. And so
speaking of doctor's appointments, even within Metro LA, once a year, I have, speaking of COVID sensitive diseases, I have a relatively easy autoimmune disease, Hashimoto's disease, which is total atrophy of the thyroid. And so I pop a Synthroid a day and it's fine. But my endocrinologist is at UCLA. And I'm due to see him this month for my annual check. And I'm thinking, I don't want to go up to a huge medical center, even if it is, you know, the private practice doctor's building with a gazillion people. And, you know, excuse me, I got a nuisance call. I'm going to end it.
Call from.
So at any rate, fortunately, my primary care physician practices with his wife, who is an endocrinologist, and they're 10 minutes from the house at one of the local hospitals. And I'm going to call up and make an appointment with her.
Well, that's what Carolyn said. She said she might just do it by telemedicine.
Right.
Said,
I was going to say, I bet you, Connie, most of these people are all willing to do telemedicine now. And they can actually show you the x-rays on the screen and your lab works. You can go to a local lab and get it drawn, and then they'll give you the results on telemedicine.
Yeah. Well, they do draw blood at the doctor's office.
So you'll just have to go locally. You know, it's really, you know, for us or for the dogs, because there's a conference going on, how to, you know, survive COVID differently for veterinarians. And of course, the one thing they're missing, which always tweaks my last nerve, is how to deal with the stresses in personality. So I don't know how many of you have been to the vet since COVID started, but not only are we a little different than we used to be, so is the staff. They're working differently. They have all these different hoops to jump through. How do you deal with that stress and that conflict? And so for me, Andy, oh God, can't remember his name, the Uncharted vet, Andy Rourke, is having a really good program on this, on how to survive it. But we meet every week, and there's always something that has really tweaked our last nerve. I mean, Diane said, you know, here we are, we're not doing what we need to do to stop the curve from rising. And Connie's like, I have to go see the doctor, and I don't really want to go in the city. And of course, Sally was dodging trees falling. So I mean, we have it all here. And with it all, our pets are taking good care of us.
Yeah, well, my vet friend, who I am very fortunate to have, I mean, she's one of my 3 people anyway in my MAAP plan, but she is a house practice vet, and ever since this started, she has been working insane hours because the clinics are only letting in like 1 dog at a time. And when I called her and I needed her to see Flame last night, and she's like, I won't get home till at least 7 or 8 tonight. And I'm like, well, I have class until 9. I don't want to keep you up. And she's like, my COVID hours are normally till 2 a.m. She's like, come up here at 10 o'clock at night when you're done class. Don't make Roger's class. We're sitting on her living room floor at 11:30 at night, lasering and wrapping Flame's leg.
Yeah.
I mean, and this lady's doing this every day.
That's so imagine
insane.
The stress, right? Imagine the stress. So here are these vets, and there's a whole group that I just found, mind you. So I think I've told you that over in the UK, they have a mediation practice that I'm trying to bring here to the United States for veterinarians to participate in mediation with their clients who are angry with them. Well, now there's a whole Facebook page, because isn't there always a Facebook page, for people who don't like it, because it dumbs down the conversation with the client, and it keeps everything confidential, so you can't even talk about the vet on Facebook or social media. And I sat there and I said, that's not the concept I wrote in my book. They're not following my concept, which is everybody has to feel as if they're heard, respected, and understood. So here we are taking care of our pets, making these plans. And when we're talking to our vets who are totally stressed out, and so are we might not be our best selves. And how do we navigate that? That's a really big question. And Diane, you're so lucky to have a vet that will do that. My 2 puppies needed shots this week, vaccinations. They weren't being shot, they were getting vaccinations. And the vets were really very reticent to take vaccinations from somewhere other than their own refrigerator. And none of them had the vaccination these puppies needed in their own refrigerator. And I sat there and went, wow, this is really getting to be so difficult to navigate.
Yeah, and it's scary. It's scary. I mean, the only thing I will say, at least in Arizona, veterinarians seem to have more sense than the hospitals, because they're not going into care. We're going to save all the pets, and that's what we should be doing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, fortunately, from the beginning in California, because we're the largest ag state in the country, all animal services from vets to
remained open.
Stores remained open. So we were very lucky. For instance, I have a lot of Wheaton friends out in the Palm Springs area. Their vets are only seeing dogs on an emergency basis. My vet practice, which has 4 vets in it, is right down the hill from me. I mean, I can literally walk my dogs down there if it's just for a routine check. But they have curtailed their hours. They used to be open 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. 6 days a week. Now they're working 9 to 6. And they are giving, full service, anything you need for your dog, from a routine checkup to surgery. But you've got to wait in the parking lot. And, a vet tech comes out, gets your dog. You talk to the vet after the exam on the cell phone. And then, you do all the credit card transaction and blah, blah, blah. And it takes twice as long.
Yeah, you would think it would take less time because there's no fiddle farting around of getting in the room and getting out of the room and cleaning the room. No, it really does take twice as long. And so many people are fearful. We tend to give I think it's because the people on this call, and hopefully new people will come who we can help. People on this call are not fearful of their vets because they have really good relationships with their vets. But there are some people who don't feel able to question their vets or ask for input. I know I would not necessarily like to hear after the fact what happened. I want to be in there. And there are some vets who are actually Zooming the appointments, which I think is brilliant. They, they have the vet tech in the room Zooming the appointment. So you can ask that. You can ask your vet and say, listen, I've got Zoom. I'm out in the parking lot. Would you mind having the vet tech hold the camera so that I can see what you're doing as if I'm standing there? But we don't think to ask that. And as competent pet owners, that might relieve some of our stress, because I think that the stress that now is in place with the staff of the vet practice and with the owners of the pets create these Facebook pages where people really want to choke the life out of veterinarians, and veterinarians become very defensive. Not ours, thank God. Although, I'm not sure how our veterinarians would react to someone who was really stressed. I mean, I don't know if any of you have seen any person who's been really stressed, because we're out in the parking lot, but I've seen 2 or 3 owners who are really, really stressed. And my vet came to me afterwards and was like beyond herself. How could they be so crazy? And I said to her, COVID, I said, people are really afraid. I mean, they really are. I mean, listen to us. We're all sitting here talking about, that people are not really respectful of other people by wearing masks, that we don't have, strong leadership across the board, either at the top of each state or at the top of the country, so that we can have something that somebody says, okay, everybody, I know you all, or some of you, feel like lemmings, but let's lemming together, because it will save lives. And, I have had, Diane, some conversations with people who have said, listen, if you have an underlying condition, then you die, and that's it. And I mean, I think it was one of the senators or governors who said, well, if I have to die to save my grandchildren, I will. I'm like, oh my goodness.
Oh, it was. He was from one of the Midwest
From
states.
Texas.
I remember that.
Texas. It was Texas.
TV when I heard that.
Oh,
yeah,
it was Texas.
Like 70 years old. He said, I'm ready. I'll die. And I'm sitting there and I'm going, it's not about that. You're supposed to be hoping to help everyone survive and thrive, not, I'm dying, don't worry, you don't have to shut this place down for me so that economies, are saved. Now, with that said, so we all do dog shows, and I was thinking the other day, how do handlers pay their bills if they're not handling anymore? And there was a woman on Facebook who said, how can you even think about opening dog shows? This is ridiculous. And there's a lot of truth to that. I mean, how crazy are we to want to do dog shows? However, our dogs are losing their minds. I mean, mine is completely losing his mind. He's out to lunch because he has nothing to do but sit with me all day, and I'd lose my mind sitting with me all day too. And so people are doing the dog shows. They're doing the social distancing as best they can. They're wearing masks. But the little guy is getting hurt. The vendors, the dog food suppliers, the dog treat suppliers. I mean, we can all get it online, but as well as I do, when we go to dog shows, we spend more money than we should, because it's right there and the dog really likes that toy and you pick it up. I mean, the spontaneous buying at dog shows is really unbelievable, especially, dog beds or something like that we all love, right? So think of these people. And then there are the cafeteria vendors, the people who are giving you the soda and the burger. They're not working. So there is an argument for, well, how do we do this? But quite frankly, my sons are in that age group of nudniks, as my mother would call them, that are not paying attention because they think it's not going to be a problem. And they reported today in one of the news reports that a 23-year-old girl died because she had survived childhood cancer. And so, of course, her immune system was compromised. She was 23, and she got COVID and she passed away. And that's preventable. Like you said, Diane, it's preventable if you just take proper.
I read an article yesterday about a 40-year-old wrestler boxer who was in prime condition, no comorbidities at all. Okay, went to visit his brother in Florida, came back and was in ICU for 28 days at Johns Hopkins, lost 60 pounds and all his muscle mass, even needed to learn to re-eat again. And he did survive. But there's a difference in this world between living and surviving,
right?
Which is what some of this whole crisis care thing has me upset
coming
with.
is it's so difficult. You're sort of wondering, I don't want to ever play God forbid, and I know people do come back and they're great, but like this gentleman, there was a woman, I'm on several of the rescue horse groups, and I talk about making a MAP plan, and when they're rescue groups, I go, and do you have your name as the person they call if something happens, and do you keep in touch with them? Because it's not so much whether or not they call you, it's whether or not you keep in touch. Because as we know, we keep in touch with our breeders who we buy our dogs from, we keep in touch with our owners who buy our dogs, but if you don't, there's a very little chance you're going to know that their life changes. So it's really up to you. You can always yell and say, well, Connie should have called me when she, lost her house and didn't have a home to live in and blah, blah. Well, no, she probably was embarrassed and you needed to be there to help her navigate that. That's what good breeders do. I actually have an article coming out in the Irish Setter Club of America about starting that process of asking, what is it that I see with these new buyers that I want, and really pulling the load yourself. But it really is interesting to figure out what is really important. And this woman, 76 years old, who was the mother-in-law of one of these horse people, do you remember? So all of you are over 21, so I know you will remember the wiki mermaids in Florida that they used to all go under the water and have the little air things that they used to suck on, and they used to stay under the water and swim by as mermaids. Oh God, don't tell me you don't remember. Well, I do, because I'm older than all of you and I'm older than dirt. But the wiki, she was one of those. She and her husband went around the world on a sailboat. Clearly, I love to sail, and I wouldn't even, and I swim, and I wouldn't even attempt to go around the world, because if I fall off the boat, I might not be able to pull myself back on, having nothing to do with not being able to swim. Upper body strength stinks. She contracted COVID and she passed away. She was 73 years old. Totally healthy, no comorbidity, totally healthy.
Right.
She just, maybe she was A+ blood, which my husband is really worried about. So we're here. What?
I am too.
Yeah, we're here every week because it really, well, first of all, it keeps us sane, which I'm so grateful, because it keeps me sane. I'm so glad all of you keep coming. But we really need to get the word out, because this isn't something that's going away. This isn't something that, well, the MAP plan, I'm not going to do that now because this is all going to go away. I'm not going to need it. No, we're really going to need it. We're going to need it now more than ever. And every day it changes for me on the things I'm going to remember to tell people, because whoever thought that you couldn't have one of your caregivers be in Connecticut? Because at the height of COVID, Sally couldn't come and get one of my dogs, and I couldn't go and get Athena, because the governors had said no. Now, would we have broken the law and driven in and done it? Yes, but who wants to do that, right? When there are neighbors who, if you just put a card in their mailbox, usually will come to the aid of their countrymen. So that's part of what we are doing here. We're helping each other survive this, and also understanding the plans we need to make, and the people we need to include in this group, so that they too can not so much think, oh, well, I know that Diane's going to take my dog, so I don't have to write it down. I just want to pull my hair out of my head, because it's not going to happen. More and more dogs. And if any of you find articles in your neck of the woods that talk about animal care and control coming and taking dogs out of people's homes, there have been 7 this week in New York papers.
Yeah, well, and the whole thing about this, and it goes with my whole theory about COVID, Deb, is that this is a proactive thing. And that's why I was initially drawn to come to these meetings. This is a proactive thing. We are setting things up so that if something happens, we know who's going to do what, how it's going to happen. And that's the whole thing that's wrong with everybody's approach to COVID right now, except for New York, who didn't have time to plan it. And so I don't blame New York at all. Okay, but instead of worrying if we have hospital capacity to put all these people who are getting sick and dying, what we need to worry about is how to prevent the transmission, so we don't need those beds.
Exactly, Diane. And what happened here in California, we had it under control.
Yeah, so did we.
And, yeah, and but The difference is we have a lovely governor. He is a delightful man, Gavin Newsom, but he's a tough cookie.
I read about him. I like him.
He even said when we started spiking again, and it was all the crazy people who went out to the beaches on Memorial Day weekend. In fact, 2 days ago, I picked up the LA Times from the driveway, and there it was, lead story on the front page, Memorial Day, surge in COVID cases. At any rate, we are 2 to 3 weeks from being at total capacity for hospital beds in Los Angeles County, the largest county in the country, folks.
Yeah.
And everybody is suddenly freaking out. And
4th of July is coming, Connie, and 2 weeks from now, the 15th, I worry that everything will spike again.
You bet, and everybody else is. And so Governor Newsom said and LA County has been wonderful. The problem is we're surrounded by 4 counties that aren't. And they have been very lax, and a lot of people work in LA from Orange and Ventura and Riverside and San Bernardino counties, from the suburbs and the exurbs. So they're all driving back and forth every day. And when we close our beaches down, everybody goes up to Ventura County or they go down to Orange County. And they're going to do the same bloody thing this weekend because LA County beaches are closed, period. So everybody's going to go to Orange County. In fact, I got a Facebook post from a longtime Wheaton friend of mine who lives in the city of Orange. She and I were on the national board together, and she was freaking out. She was saying, "Oh my God, everybody's going to come down to our beaches this weekend."
No, because they're open, right? And then they're going to bring it. They're going to bring it with them, and if they don't have it, they're going to bring it home with them.
They're going to bring it home.
Yes.
Right.
Well, we have a governor that went and sat at a rally with 3,000 unmasked people.
That's right.
Okay, so I'm not even going to go there.
Right.
But like I say, what's really concerning to me is that he is leaving it up to the mayors and the local people. And so, like you say, if I can't drink at a bar in Scottsdale, I can drink at a bar in Prescott.
Right.
So now I'm not only drinking at a bar in Prescott, I'm driving an hour and a half on a freeway after I've been drinking in Prescott.
Exactly,
I mean,
which is why Newsom said, if you guys and gals don't get your acts together, I'm shutting the whole state down. Period.
Well, truthfully, my opinion is that this state should have never been opened when it was. But
absolutely.
I don't think any of them should.
Hindsight is 2020. I realize, but again,
there is a delicate balance because people need to work. Hairdressers, nail salons.
Right, but our focus with our dogs needs to be, we can't control the exterior environment. I can't control the fact that there was 4,000 in some cases of COVID today in Arizona. And my husband and I are both older people. But I can control the fact that I called my 3 friends and said, remember, I put you on this plan. Remember how to get into my house. Because if I end up being one of those people, I need to know you're going to take care of my dogs.
Right.
So Diane, that's the perfect segue into the last question I wanted to ask all of you today. So we have been a very beautiful group. We've had 2 or 3 people come here and there, but I would love to know how to support you guys. So when you send that note out to the 3 people, you say, and by the way, what about your dogs? And by the way, would you like to join us? And by the way, if you feel comfortable doing that, because I've been sharing the note and the MAAP plan, it goes out to about 150 people, 200 people maybe who've signed up to get the notice. I mean, I know you guys get it all the time. And if it's a bad time, maybe I'll do another one at night. I don't know. Give me some suggestions, because the information that we are sharing here, I think, and not my information, totally your information, the life you're living in COVID is so important to share. What can we do together to spread this word so that, there are 20 people on here? Not that, I want to make it too big, because I want everybody to have time to really be part of the group and not have it too big. But I'm sort of thinking, what can we do to make sure that the people in your rally friendship come, just to understand that there's no selling. I don't sell anything here. Go to my website if you want to look at what's there, but I'm not selling. I am simply providing that constant nudge. I'm like that little poke.
What if, Deb, what if you sent notices, and obviously you can't do it for every breed in every state all over the place, but what if you sent notices like to local breed clubs to put in their newsletters?
Oh, I could do that.
Because I know like the Irish Setter Club of Tucson just recently started a newsletter, and with no shows, there's really not a whole lot of meat to this newsletter. So if they would put an invitation in the newsletter, you could do the same with maybe some obedience or rally groups or agility groups, you know, and even some of the rescue groups. I mean, I don't know how many people you ultimately want, but like my Tucson Irish Setter friends, I don't know their schedules. Okay, I think they are free in the day, but I don't know. But
Right.
most of my rally and agility friends work in the day, so they would do evening. But yet Ken, my dearest agility friend, he teaches every evening.
Right.
So, you know, if you were to put it out in newsletters, and maybe you'd even get some responses from people saying, you know, I'd love to come, but I work in the day.
Yeah,
You know.
because that would be a great idea. And, you know, I'm thinking that I'd start with the national clubs, who usually have, like the Irish Setter Club of America has flea bites, which goes to all the national clubs, and then trickle down to the local clubs. And right, agility has, and rally and obedience have specific clubs as well. And then, of course, the rescues. It's interesting because I have so courted a group called the Guardians of Rescue, who simply rescue pit bulls. And it is as if I am talking Greek, because it just isn't something they want to do. So if you guys have, I can send the copy to you guys. And if you know of a group, an obedience group, an agility group, whatever, that you can share it with and say, here, this is free. I mean, it seems like the word free has to be in bold prints. This is free, but this is giving you the guidance you need to make sure that if something happens to you, especially now since we've had such a wake-up call. I mean, such a wake-up call.
I was going to say, and maybe some of the veterinarians, I know Nancy frequently, like is on, I don't know if it's Facebook or it's, I don't do social networks. Sorry guys, I'm ignorant. But there is a group that she communicates with of other house practice veterinarians on a regular basis, and veterinarians in other states, that like if she comes out upon something she doesn't know, she can send an email or whatever to the group. Maybe there's a couple groups of veterinarians out there that have mainly elderly clients that might, you know, make a flyer for you or whatever.
Well, just put it in their news bites, you know, say, listen, I heard about this woman who's holding this, and there are people who come and who rave about it. And or if you guys know them, say, and I go, and it's wonderful. And it's, you know, kept me sane during COVID maybe, or made me insane during COVID. You could be honest. I could be making you insane during COVID. So if I either send it to you, or if you can introduce me to anybody you think might be willing, that would be great. And then I'll just send them the flyer. I could send you a little blurb that says, here, I attend this every Wednesday at noon or whatever, 9 o'clock in the morning on the West Coast. And you might want to share this because you as a veterinarian, or you as an agility, I mean, even our kennels, because if I get sick, dogs go to the kennel and then they stay there forever. And what do you do? Right?
Well, I was going to suggest, well, I would love for you to send me a flyer, because I belong to my national and local breed clubs, an all breed kennel club, an obedience club, and in fact, I'm AKC LL for both my obedience club and my national breed club, as you know, Deborah. And, and also Desert Empire Terrier Club of Southern California, which is part of the Palm Springs Specialty Cluster every year. So I'm really well connected, but I have another suggestion for you.
Sure.
And we were talking about it 15 minutes ago. The handlers, PHA, or the, the AKC registered handlers program, or whatever they call it. And I'll relate to you what's happening with the handlers in California. Of course, we are totally shut down.
Right.
For confirmation and obedience. And when the state totally reopens, that is the only time at which dog shows will resume. So the handlers are high and dry, and we're talking about the big time
Oh yeah, the ones that are making like $200,000-$400,000 a year, right, or more.
Exactly. We're talking Jorge and Susie Oliveira. We're talking Gabriel and Yvonne Ronhell, whom I am very close with and who have handled my dogs at the big specialties. We're talking Amy Rutherford, Northern California. You know, they are all in the group rings and best in show rings at Westminster. Right. We all know them. They are doing mobile grooming. They are selling beauty products online. You know, they are doing God knows what. And they're trying to make ends meet. And the trouble is that the only dog shows that are open right now are Amy went up to Idaho with a girlfriend, Sweeten. In fact, she's one of my MAAP people in Ventura, in the city of Ventura. She has a lovely boy whom she's specialing, and Amy took him up to Idaho. Well, the question is, what happens if she gets sick? And she's got Leslie's dog.
And the dogs go to the shelter. Yep.
Exactly. And another friend of mine in Orange County, we were texting back and forth last night. She does agility and obedience, and she has cockers. And she has a year-old cocker boy that she sent out to Oklahoma to start his dog show career, because that's the only, place
you can do it now. Right.
Right. And what happens if her handler can't make it back with her year-old cocker? So, this is the stuff that's going on. So the handlers are a real target audience for you, Deborah, I think.
So if I might impose, which totally tell me if you're uncomfortable, but if I sent you something that you could share and say, listen, I know this woman, she isn't crazy, or I know this woman, run with your hair on fire, whatever you feel like saying. Because when I write to them, it's delete, delete, delete. So because they think I'm trying to sell something, and I truly am not. By the way, we have set the date for the weekend, the 2-day MAAP program. We're going to do it 2 hours on Thursday, 2 hours on Friday, July 30th and 31st. I'm trying to decide if we're going to do it at night, like 6 to 8, or 1 in the morning from, it would be too early for you guys. So I think I might do 10 to 12 or 11 to 1. So it's not so early for the West Coast. And then, because that would be sort of lunchtime, 11 to 1, and then sort of do dinner 5 to 7 or 6 to 8, because I think that way I might be able to get a group of people. There's 4 letters, right? So we're going to do MAAP, and we're going to do an hour on each, because people don't really want to spend that much time, but at least I'll be able to do what we're doing here for 4 hours. It'll be incredibly inexpensive, and just something that people will, I always feel that people make a commitment to attend if they pay a little bit of money, like, they really commit to attend, and this is going to be great. But if people could come for the next 3 weeks before it and understand what it's all about, they might actually want to come. But what I love to do is just send a little something to all of you so you could share it and say, here, this is Deborah Hamilton. And if you include me at the CC, I can write and thank you, and then say, please just take some time. We can set up a Zoom. I'll tell you all about it, and you'll learn more. Because you're right. These handlers, first of all, what happens if, God forbid, the woman who gave her dog to the handler gets COVID?
Gets sick, right?
So it's both sides of the leash, right? It is the person who owns the dog, and it's the person who's handling the dog. And do you have those directions? And most people have the directions like bring it to the vet and things, but they don't have those long-term directions that say, okay, so if something happens to me, then they go to Connie, and then they go to Diane, and then they go to Sally. They don't have it. You might have it in your head, but they don't have it in their paperwork. So that's what I'm so grateful I asked that question, because it really has been sort of, I'm always, thinking of how I can include people. And sometimes it's just a matter of asking people who are included, who really enjoy being here, to just say, they always say, just ask. So just ask and say, listen, I'm here, I show up, and I have to tell you, as Diane said at the beginning, I had to come here because I was having such a shitty week.
Well, and I would actually love to attend your seminar at the end of the month, because I need to do my annual update.
Yeah.
Well,
and I want to add my girlfriend around the corner. She is literally up the street and around the corner, as a 4th person,
The more the merrier. Don't,
Yeah.
it's
And
funny
she's a
when
dog
people say to
person
me,
too. Yeah.
only 3, and I go, if you want to add 6, that's
Right.
great, because God forbid somebody is not able to take your dog.
Right.
Why
Yeah.
not have it? Why not have more? I mean, it was interesting. A colleague of mine, their dog was in New York and they wanted it back, and they were in Seattle. So the handler drove cross country. So he made some money driving cross country to drop the dog off. And of course, what went through my brain? What happens if he had an accident or got sick in any of those states where that dog had to go to the animal care and control?
Right.
And I am sure he did not have a sticker on his dashboard that said, in the event of an issue, this is the person to call if the issue happens in Ohio. This is the person to call if the issue happens in Wisconsin, because we don't think about it. We just don't think about it.
Right.
So I am so grateful. I'm going to re-listen to this as well, because there's so much great information you guys shared. Ruth is on. I know she's taking notes. And so I'm going to wrap it up now, only because I am so sensitive that you guys have other things to do besides stay with me on Wednesday, which I love. But I'm going to do that, and I'll send that out to you. And anyone else you think of, just pick up your phone. Call me or text me or write me an email, because I am really dedicated to this. In fact, I think, see, the Wheatons are barking with the other Irish. You hear that, right?
Yeah, exactly. My Patsy is hearing your dog. Yeah.
Yeah. There must be something to bark about.
Chase is sleeping through the whole thing.
Yeah, and your dogs are sleeping because it's so hot in Arizona. They don't give a flying bagel. So, and Sally, we didn't hear anything from Athena. She's probably going, oh my God. But thank you all.
She's in the other building.
Oh, okay. Thank you all so much for coming again. You really make my heart sing. Thank you for all your great suggestions, and I'm going to take care of that by Friday. Have a great 4th of July. Shut the windows, put the music on.
Stay safe.
You
Stay safe.
Bye.
You too. Stay safe.
Stay healthy.